welcome to the first of many video tutorials that I'll try and provide for this class. So, last 2 weeks, at the beginning of the class, we talked about what spatial analysis is all about. And this video is just a recap of that. So, we said analysis is one of the 6 components of GIS. And primarily, GIS has the ability to capture data. We have ability to store. We have ability to query, and then we can also analyze, and that's what we are doing, the analysis component of that. But then we can also display, and then we can also give an output. So what does analysis really do for us? It's a process of highlighting patterns and relationships in our geographic data, pretty much trying to reveal trends and patterns in data that the naked eye cannot really see. And that is what analysis is about. So analysis is pretty much trying to say we want to find out patterns. So we want to see or find and give an answer or find an answer to questions, or we want to test and confirm theories. So all those forms some basis why we would do analysis. So if somebody wants to find the closest place to a fire station, or want to see where should I put a new pet store, where should I put a new Walmart, where should I put a new gas station. Those are all questions that analysis will allow us to perform. So we map up where things are located. We use density map. We can do what we call closest facility. So in this case, we normally use for fire emergency response, or even ambulance services, whereby an incident occurs and you want to find the closest resource. So then we want to see, we want to do things like change map. So you map something 1 year, and then you can come back the following year and do the same and compare how things are changing. So there are 5 analytical processes that we have to take into consideration when we are dealing with analysis. And as I said in class, the first thing that you want to take note of is the question. You have to always frame the question and understand the question that you are trying to answer before you start performing any analysis. So you have to frame the question. What is the question is, I want to find a location for a new school. You have to understand that that is a question you are trying to frame. So you also have to understand, once you understand the question, that will lead you to what kind of data do I need to have in order to be able to answer that question, and then being able to understand the data. And then once you are done with the data, then you move into the method. Because GIS is full of methods. We have a lot of methods or analytical processes that we can use. Now that you know the question and you know the data you have, then you can choose a method that you're going to use on that data. Then you are done with that, then you can now go into processing the data. And then once you are done with the processes, then you can take a look at the results. And if the results look right, or you can, at times it might not look the way it's supposed to look, then you have to ask yourself, am I using the right data? Did I have the data projected? So all those things comes into the question. All right. So in framing the question, you want to be very specific. And I've always told my students, framing question or understanding your question is one of the fundamental things in GIS, and it even extends further than just the analysis. Because if you are given a project and you don't understand what you're supposed to do, then how are you going to do it? So be very specific. It will help you when you are approaching the analysis. It will help when you are determining the method to use. It helps when presenting the result because you have a specific question that you're trying to answer. All right. What information would be needed, right? Who will use the result, and then some sort of example that will help you to understand the question that you are trying to answer. Understand your data. What do we mean by that? You have to know what features and attributes are needed to answer that question. So even if you have the data, does the data has the right attributes in order for you to use to get your results? You have to be able to do that. All right. What type of features determine the methods? So is it going to be a discrete, or is it going to be a continuous method? So What I mean by this is it going to be a vector or is it going to be a raster or imagery? All right. Types of attributes determine the types of analysis. So if you don't have the data in the attribute, then chances are you can't really answer it. So your attribute table is always going to play a very critical role when performing your analysis. All right. Choose a method. So we have to choose a method that will be based on the original question. How analysis results will be used. Efficiency and effectiveness. This will all be some of the key things that you have to consider, and that will help with the method that you're going to use. So as you see down the line, you see one question, then you have multiple methods that you can use to address it. All right. Now, know that whatever workflow you use is one of many possible method that could have been used to perform the same analysis. So don't beat yourself up or think your method is wrong, but it could be just one of many methods that could have been there. So processing the data, understand all the concepts that are being used. So are you going to use buffers? Are you going to use spatial joins? Are you going to do some sort of attribute joins? So those will be some of the things that or you do even have to convert a vector data to a raster, because the method that you choose to use requires you having your data in a raster, meaning you have to transform the data from the vector format to the raster format. So that's some of the things you have to do. And then obviously you have to look at your result. This is very, very critical. So it's either in the form of a map or models or charts, but you have to step back. You have to get opinions of other people, other GIS people, or even field expertise to be able to help you address that, to see what you've done, whether it makes sense or something is off. So it's always good to determine if the result is valid and useful, and that could be done by a professional GIS person or somebody with a local knowledge or local expert in that area. So those are some of the things we talked about in class regarding analysis. So I will switch over from this video to the tutorial and then carry on from there. So see you soon. Bye.